again, you can hit the recording button. So now we're starting. We'll call the January meeting of the Crossroads Special Business District Advisory Commission to order. It is Thursday, January 20th. We have the minutes before you. If you all looked at the agenda and clicked on the link from the December 16th meeting of the commission. Is there any questions or corrections from the members to the minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes? Moved by Kelly, second by Allison to approve the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes all around. Any opposed, nay? Hearing none, the ayes have it. The minutes are approved. Close the minutes and go back to the agenda here. All right, so visitor comments. Anyone? I don't think we have any visitors on, so just make sure we don't have any comments before we start. All right, and I'm going to check my participant panel and just make sure. No, all right. So with that, we'll go to election of chair. The chair role for the business district commissions is very simple. You will have a few extra emails a month from myself or Fran in terms of setting the agenda and issues for the meetings that come up, and then also serve should the commission desire for any reason as the spokesperson, to the council or to the community in any of the items that Crossroads wishes to engage. So that in the nutshell is the duties of the chair, but we will need a chair of some type to be elected. I will say that if you desire, we can let you all think about this for a month and let a new appointee come, or we can handle it today. We put it on the agenda to elect a new chair today, simply to give you that option if someone is nominated and the group so wishes, or you can have it pushed to next month. But we really should in this first quarter of the year move into a new chairperson. So with that, I'll turn it back to our four members, and any conversation, discussion, or nominations would be appropriate at this time.
Oh no. I think we're going to probably have to wait on that one.
Totally fine.
Allison, you're muted.
Got the cat. I can tell you that I don't care to be the chairman.
Josh, I saw you pop in there for a second. Just want to make sure.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, my phone's kind of having some issues here, but I'm back.
Okay. It seems, just looking around the room, looking at faces and hearing the quick comments, that you all probably desire to move this into February conversation and see who the next appointees are. Is that accurate with that?
Good.
You all agree to that?
I think we're going to have to. Without Christy and Heidi, I don't know if we can. I think that's important to ask them as well.
That's not a problem. We can easily do that. So with that, then, not hearing any objection, we will plan to move that into the February agenda so we can have that conversation. And Fran, we'll make note of that when we ping folks for February, that it'll be an important decision. And I do believe in terms of the vacancy for Bob, the council will have an opportunity to meet to fill that seat before you meet next. So if you know of business owners or folks involved in the Crossroads area that would be good for this commission board, you can have them connect with me, or they can go direct to the city website and fill out the application for the city council to act on. Okay. All right. So with that, we'll move on. And unless there's any objection, I'll just continue chairing until we have the new chair elected next month. So under old business, our item is the streetscape. Just a quick update. The county will have the grant application for our review near the end of this month. So we'll be sending that out to you all, and the city will begin work on the temporary crossing lanes at Schnucks probably in February. So some of that restriping, we're waiting on the bids for the moving of those temporary posts and the move of some of the pedestrian equipment. So on the Big Bend Elm intersection. But again, our major action, the county is going to do the grant for the whole streetscape project. As we talk about budget in the next conversation, once we have a sense from the county of timeline in terms of is the grant coming in, we'll be able to start planning what the city's input is on the streetscape, the sidewalks, which we have funded in the city budget. and the timeline for doing that project. I just want to make it very clear to you all that money's not lost. It doesn't just go away. It's in the capital plan, and we will hold it over so you don't have to go back and try to fight for it in the midst of capital plans. So we have programmed those funds, and they will be held into the next year so that we can continue that project. Okay. Any questions on Streetscape for anyone? Go ahead, Allison.
So after all this time, years and years, they just said, okay, we'll do it.
That's, yep.
Wish I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I wish he was here too, but it has taken what, 20 years probably of pushing on them to get them to say we'll do it. But
My
the
mom
dam
was
broke.
on when they started, and she's passed.
The dam finally broke. So
Okay,
And we still have the original street, what we wanted for street lighting is still in the plan, right?
yeah, so the county's grant plan, now that this is a safety plan because we're repaving the roadway, which is amazing but in traffic world, that's the safety connotation. So that will be added, but the streetscape and the lighting and all the work that you have done is still all there. And so in reality, that will be the bulk of the city's part of this project, is doing all those and using the funds that we've appropriated for that. So
Okay. Thank you.
we will, now I just want to be extra clear about Baker, Gore, that whole corner. That will be in the grant application. The configuration of that intersection is not crucial to the grant application. So we have talked about the right in, right out and such, or the one ways and all those issues. We will continue to be meeting with the county to, as the project moves forward, finalize. And then obviously the city council, if we're going to change Gore entrance exits and such, is going to have to be involved. So we'll need to continue that conversation with, once we have the grant, on what exactly the plan is for those entry exits onto Gore and Baker off of Big Bend.
Okay.
The county was not opposed to what we had talked about. I just want to put it that way. It's just not, obviously they need to look at a few things, and our city council would have to act to change our Gore intersection there as well, and Baker. So,
Okay.
all right. We'll move on to budget. I know we briefly touched on this last meeting, and we do have a budget season kicking off here for the city on January 25th. Going to share my screen real quick and run through a couple things. We'll start with this one here. And these documents Fran has received, so she'll be able to email these all out to you. You should see an Excel file on your screen, I think. You can see that. Okay. So what you're looking at here is your current budget line item. So if you see the brown area here, the expense, these are your budget line item codes. And these three purple lines are your revenue line items. This yellow column is your fiscal year 2021, last year's fiscal year, the actual. This is the green column. D is the budget for this year. E is the year-to-date amount that has been used out of those line items. And then F is the percentage. I'm going to hold off on G and H for a second, just walk you through some of these things. It's a very simple budget that you have for the business district, not a lot of complexity. But what I wanted to point out, you can obviously see expenses. Your two main revenue items are property tax and licenses. I'll go into those in a second. But these operating transfers out of about 22,000, I wanted to point out, those are the transfers that go to the general fund to pay for the park staff and such that do all the beautification work, the flower pots, the decoratings and things like that. This has been programmed at about this amount for some years, and that's totally fine. What I want to make sure we determine that amount here from the finance department in terms of what that cost will be and transfer. Obviously, Old Orchard and Old Webster have a bigger cost. However, what that does to your revenue, as you can see, is you actually only bring in $800 positive by the time we transfer the revenue out, and that out of that transfer. But you're also have a $10,000 budget. So it's a deficit budget, which is fine for you guys. It's not a problem, except we need to pay close attention to your fund balance, your savings that are in the Crossroads fund. And so I need to double check to make sure that should we do in fiscal year 23, this next budget, a transfer of a similar amount, that we don't cause problems with your fund balance, meaning that we don't go beyond what you have in savings, right? Because we don't want to end up with a deficit or reducing your fund balance in such a way that you will never have enough revenue to recover and then have to assess, do we continue to do some of these things? So we just want to check your fund balance. We don't have those numbers yet. It's so early in the budget process. I'm just flagging that for you to think about as we next month will finalize your budget recommendation that will need to go into the city council and such, and to the city manager and then to the council. In terms of your expense budget, as we walk through this, I don't expect much to change from this year, other than I have added for disposal. Republic Services likes to raise the dumpster fee every so little bit, as they like to do. So I've added a little more in there. And then also, I don't know why it didn't total over here, but it should be in professional services. I've increased that slightly. Professional services are your portion of the bill for Fran's time and work with the business district. So we just anticipate that there may be an increase there. So we want to budget funds for that. Now, that said, you have, as you can see, this year have only spent 10% of your expense budget. We obviously have the facade beautification grant that you approved for Lark that will be, hitting in this fiscal year. The receipts are still incoming, but we don't expect, major other expenses this year out of this budget. So you're going to increase your fund balance, right? I mean, you have not spent that money that will actually help your fund balance, your savings. So all in all, a good spot for you all. I'm going to, let me just stop on expenses. Are there any major concerns or jump outs on this? For the next month, what we need to think about is if you have new ideas, if you want new benches, new flower pots, new trash cans that you see around the district, we can build those into the budget to be added. But are there any concerns with just sort of the basic cost to continue and the few little expectations that I've seen for the budget moving forward?
Nope.
Okay. I'm going to switch my share real quick, and I want to show you, we're going to talk just about your revenue trends briefly so you can see those, and it helps if I find the right PDF. There we go. You should be able to see a business license chart on your screen now, a colorful chart. So you have two revenue lines of major note. That's property taxes and your business licenses that come in from within the district. So the blue line, this is the 5-year trend. I'll go to 2022 this year. The blue line is your adopted budget. The red line is your amended budget, which will be the same for you. But if there was a change mid-year that we needed to change the budget, it would be reflected there. And then this orange is the actual amount received to date. So looking back at the 5-year trends, as you can see in 18 and 19, well over $8,700 budgeted and received in excess of that amount for business licenses. Not unsurprisingly, 2020, the year of COVID, a budget of 8,700, but business licenses almost in half, right? Obviously some business closures, but also some folks just didn't pay their business license. It was, everyone's working from home. We relaxed enforcement of all the, of paying those. And a lot of people didn't even check their mail, it seems like, and that's fine. By the way, your business licenses are going to be in the mail this week. Your reminder for renewals. So the proverbial bill is coming. In 2021, we had the same budget of 8,700, but we well exceeded it up to 10,900. So some real rebounds there of what was not paid in 20 came in 21. This year, this budget we're in right now, the budget was lowered to set the business licenses at 6,500, and we've received again about $600 to date. That's new businesses that have come in. Your renewals are coming in the mail this week. But what that means in terms of our budget is, I don't know that 6,500 is a more accurate reflection, just counting the businesses throughout the district. And in the budget document I shared that you'll see, I've set it at about 7,500 for budget. So right between where we were in 20 and where we have budgeted in 2022. Now, by the next month, we'll get a real sense of what that actual collection is going to look like. If we are really falling this year and only collecting $4,000 of the 6,500, then there's something else really major going on in the business community. Either we have, which is possible with, licensure, a disregard for having to pay it, or there is a business, there's cyclical business issues that are causing folks to not have the cash flow or such to pay that license fee. So we'll know more as we get the response to the renewals in the next month. That's the business license trends, as you can see. So I've set in the budget 7,500 as a place to start as we evaluate that intake. This is your property tax trends for the last 5 years, your real property tax. And of course, you have all assess a commercial property tax for the district. So you can see again, blue was adopted budget, red was amended budget, and then the actuals are the orange. Blue to orange is your real indicator, what you're looking for. Your property tax value has risen, to 17,000 in 2022's budget. It will be even more in terms of value this year because of the assessments in 2021. However, the tax rates were brought down because essentially under the Hancock Amendment, we don't get to take in more money with the increased value. We have to lower the rates to meet the rate, the amounts that we've collected. So unless there's some real net new construction, we expect 17,000, maybe a little bit more, to be about the budget for 2023 in terms of property taxes. And as you can see, other than 2019, you have exceeded your budgeted amount in property taxes that come through. Now, there is another line item you have, and that's simply late property taxes. If somebody, I'm just going to, John Doe's business doesn't pay their property taxes in the right year and is delinquent, when they do get paid a year later, 2 years later, you do get that revenue. It's just a different line item than this one on the screen. So I just want you to be aware of that. But our property tax estimations are all, we know the assessed values within your district. We know the rate. So we'll be able to pretty closely budget that revenue line item right spot on to what your property taxes will be. And again, we have just gotten a major chunk of property taxes from the county, the receipts from the county this week. So they will be hitting, this graph will change when you see it next month in terms of the actuals that have been collected to date. So those are revenue trends, and then your budget. And I just, again, looking ahead to next month, it's really, does the budget reflect what you were looking for in terms of your operations and your spending plans? And are there other things that you're looking to do, such as benches, trash cans, other types of lighting things? You do have a fund balance of about $10,000, and we can add funds to your budget, to do some of those things if you're interested. But you don't have to either. There's no expectation. It's really making a recommendation to the council and me here to help you price and estimate those things out. A lot of information. I'll stop talking and turn it back for questions. And welcome, Heidi.
Sorry, my daughter had a car issue, so we had to go help her. So apologize for being late.
It's okay. You got elected chair because you weren't here. So
Yeah,
I'm joking.
no, we're not.
You gotta tell her the good news. News she's been waiting 20 years for.
Oh, well, if you, I guess, Heidi, you weren't able to be with us in December, but yes, the county, the dam has broke. The county is doing the grant application for the entire project.
Awesome. I had heard the news and I was so excited. So
Any questions about budget?
Are they the lights? Is that our priority with any extra monies?
Talking about the lights, street lights, or lights on tops of buildings?
Street lights.
Street lights. So the street lights are built into that capital plan that's in the capital improvement budget, which is was approved in this budget. So
Okay.
that you don't have to take your operational budget to do those capital plans. The city's already provided that.
Eric, was there talk about putting lights on top of all the buildings?
So Old Webster and Old Orchard do have that program.
Okay.
So Crossroads certainly could. Old Webster operates it as a 50-50 match with the business owner. So Olive and Oak is about to get theirs done. So they will pay 50% of the cost. Old Webster pays 50. Old Orchard decided to make it a 100% business district cost to do the lights. Now that, I will just be honest with you, you all certainly could do that. We would want to look at the amount of revenue you take in and such, and make sure we design that program if you want to do it with the right cost share, I don't think you could afford to do the whole string of buildings all just on the district's nickel. So we'd have to look at how that cost share works. So
I was just curious if I missed anything in December that they had voted to do it.
no. Really, December, it was just simply here's where you're at in your budget, start thinking about, are there things like that? The other two districts did have some trash cans they wanted replaced. So we can, we added that into this last year's budget. They've been ordered and will be set out now, to replace some trash cans. Are there benches that are cracking or problematic in your district? Things like that we can add to this budget.
Hey, Eric.
What does
Sorry.
something like that? Oh, I'm sorry, Chris. What does something like putting the lights on the building cost? I don't even know generally, any idea what that costs.
Yeah, I can pull some solid numbers for you. There was,
Okay.
Yeah, with all the inflations going on and the supply chain issues, I'd want to get you some real numbers there.
Sure.
So let me put that together for you. I don't want to use past practice. It's not indicative of current pricing. So
Exactly. Okay, thanks.
Hey, Eric, just out of sheer curiosity, the community puts plants and stuff next to our new building, Bob's old building, the 2-story brick one. If we get rid of all that, does that save us any money? Because we're going to re-landscape the area and we're not going to need the city to put any plants there anymore. We've got a whole master plan for re-gardening and putting in art or whatever. Does that free up any money for our district if you guys don't have to put plants or maintain them there?
It would, yes. So anything we're not doing would, and that goes back to that line item, the operating transfer out. And I want to be clear that I in no way think any of that money has been misspent or wrongly transferred and such. But because of where your fund balance is and because you're a smaller district with a smaller amount of fund balance, as we look at that, we want to make sure that transfer, the figures that go into how we calculate that are accurate so that your district isn't subsidizing the general fund, because by law, you can't do that, right? We have to make sure that the value that the general fund, those staff are providing equals the amount of the transfer. I fully believe that it has, but we need to justify that. But if you take 6 pots out, and that reduces by 4 or 5 hours across a year, one person's work, that is a reduction of that transfer, that goes out of your budget. So more revenue that would stay within your budget.
Right. Or potentially we put the pots other places.
Correct.
In the district. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Just wanted to know if it would save any money.
Yep. Any other questions on budget? If you do have, and I know Fran made this note for Old Orchard, and so I'll make it here for everyone. If you have ideas, like I'll obviously get costs for lighting buildings, but if there are trash can issues that pedestrian trash cans or benches and things like that you're interested in, make sure to let Fran or I know so that we can start some estimates. So next month you could see how that would affect budget and such, if you're going to include that in your budget. Okay. All right. Next item was Prop U. I did outline this last month, and I just wanted to give you an update that it has been officially certified to the ballot for April by the County Board of Elections. So Prop U is the local use tax, which is the online sales tax, the other term for it. Again, the total moment here to give everyone an idea. If I own a bookstore in Crossroads and I come in to buy from that bookstore, I have to pay a sales tax, right, of over 9% in Webster Groves. But if I buy that book from an out-of-state retailer online, right now there is no Webster Groves tax applied to that transaction. The state has now allowed the local governments to do that. And so we are putting it on the ballot for April. It's Prop U. I want to be very clear. It's not like Prop 1 a year ago. Prop 1 a year ago that was about the use tax said you as a consumer had to come file the papers with the city to say, I bought this much online and I'm going to pay this amount of tax. That is all gone. This is now just like any other sales transaction. The State Department of Revenue will collect, the use tax from the seller and then remit the money to us. So we anticipate between $250,000 to $500,000 of revenue from the use tax. If you have seen our two things, our budget issues, which the Kirkwood Times, Webster Kirkwood Times highlighted. That certainly will help in the revenue side of things with the deficit in the city's general fund. But also we have just released our compensation and classification study for the city, which looks at city salaries, and 38% of our positions at the city are well under market pay. So we have got some real pressures to bring people up to market pay, but also so we have a powered public service group here that is able to meet the market, but also we have revenue problems as well, and other issues to fix in the general fund. So it would be helpful for the city. That's as far as I'll go and say and support or oppose. We do have an educational campaign that is going to be kicking off. Jenny Starkey, our Director of Public Affairs, is running that. There will be business signs for Prop U for those businesses that wish to support, not support, but encourage folks to support them for Prop U. And so we'll have more look at what they look like. So they're like a window sign you could put in, also cards you could leave at your registers if you're a retailer or a service organization where people are gathering or checking out and such. No expectation you do that, but I just wanted to make sure it was clear that you all have, we would appreciate it, and that we'll make sure to send those resources to you. You can opt in or opt out at any point you wish. So that will be communicated to you. Anything about Prop U?
It's not going to be a tax on services.
No, it's only things that have a sales tax on them. This would only be a use tax if you buy it online from an out-of-state vendor. So
Sure.
even a Missouri company in-state, if you were to try to buy from Zoe's Attic up in Old Webster and you live in Webster Groves, you're going to pay that sales tax already.
Sure. But not on services. It's if I have
Exactly.
a client, an accounting client in another state.
Yep.
On services. Okay.
Yep. Our next item is our ARP funding. We do have $4.6 million that the city has received from the federal government with a wide variety of possible uses. And we have polled many people in our community and also, in our business district, our community leaders. Some of you were at the business roundtable, our city council and such. And we have launched, as I'm going to share on the screen, what's called Balancing Act, which is your opportunity to help us develop a budget for spending this $4.6 million. We have received over 30 ideas, which are in this plan. I'll walk through it here, but this allows you to pick and choose what you feel as a resident is valuable for the city to spend this money on and what's not, and set the funding levels. So when you open this up, and it's very simple, it's webstergroves.org /ARP will take you to this page. You just click to enter Balancing Act, and you'll end up right here on Balancing Act. This program really is an interactive program that allows you to do some great things. So I'll use investing in residents here. First of all, the revenue is locked. It's 4.6 million. You don't get to change the revenue because we know we're getting that amount of money. But if you go over here to potential spending, we'll use this first one, a utility tax rebate for low-income seniors. You can click this I button and see what we're talking about, what this program would do. And you can use the plus or minus to decide how much money do you want to put into it. I want to put more money into this program. As a resident, I would value that. So I've moved that up 100,000 to 200,000. And you can leave a comment in that plan. Now, what you've noticed is up here where our balance exceeds the total fund. So I'm going to go to a big one that I know exists. And we've got a culvert up near the former Douglas Hill development site that needs to be replaced. It's about 1.8 million. That's how much costs have gone up, about $500,000 cost increase in 8 months. But if we need to replace that culvert, right now we've got it programmed in this money to do it. And obviously we're 4.6 million in the hole. So if I click no, and I get rid of that 1.8, you will see that that number up top now has gone to 2.8 million, my deficit up on top. Again, if I want to not put money into Shady Creek, so I'll just take this down. I've now moved that bar across. And ultimately, and I'll just keep doing that here for some of these so that we get to where we want to go. Sorry for the pop up there. You will see that, come on. Well, it keeps moving across. Ultimately, what the point is, where I'm trying to communicate, you can't submit your ideas to us until you get this to either be balanced or in surplus, meaning that folks that are residents and business owners that we're asking to do this really have to think of what do they want to fund and what's the priority, A over B and such. We also allow folks to leave your ideas. So if you have an idea that you don't see here, that's great. Put it in the comment, add how much money you want to add, for that program. And then you click submit. Once that total reads 4.6 or less of spending, and off you go, and it comes into us. We have received, in just being over a week, over 40 completed submissions with over 250 page views, which is great for a budget engagement. I mean, normally our budget engagement here at the city is pretty minimal. It's maybe a couple people at the council meeting, speaking on a budget issue. But this has really been a successful tool, and we will do this for the city's general fund budget upcoming this spring, because obviously there are pressures and issues that we need to address. So as business owners, you do have a whole section here in the business and nonprofit community you may want to look at. Some ideas we heard: a micro grant fund, business education, business promotion and marketing funds and such for the area, business accelerators, informational kiosks, all sorts of things, and ideas that we may have missed or we didn't include, because we couldn't include every idea. It would have taken forever to get this project done. So we hope that you will do this and help us out and really give the city some good feedback through the Balancing Act tool. And I'll throw the link in the chat here, so you all have it. Conversations, questions?
That'll be fun to play with.
Looks great.
Awesome. So again, for the budget this upcoming year, we will have this Balancing Act tool. I want to be very clear that it won't, your budget will not be on the Balancing Act tool, because obviously we work with you to create that budget. So we don't need all the public input for this. Also, when we start adding the smaller funds into here, it becomes very complicated, right? Is the general fund paying for your streetlights, or is the Crossroads fund paying for your streetlights? So, but we'll be previewing that for you as well, probably in the March session.
Oh.
I had, was that for the kitty, Allison? Okay.
Lock me up.
All right. So on the agenda, BDC update. I think moving on, the commission will have its business survey. I finally got some feedback from some other folks, so we hope to have that out to you all from the roundtable. It's a complete needs and assessment survey to the business community of Webster Groves, much like a downtown survey, if you have any familiarity in other communities, to really talk about the business community itself, its needs for help from the city, whatever it may be, or even if it's not from the city and it's just the real challenges that are being faced. That should be out this next coming week. It's a little bit later than I wanted, but that's okay, because we did get some good feedback. That survey, when you see it, it's about 60 questions. However, you don't have to answer all the questions. They're all optional, but it's going to ask things like, your marketing plans for businesses. Do you know where you're marketing? What kind of helps do you need in that regard? Your capital plans for building an infrastructure, how can the city be assisting and such? It's really an economic development tool widely used across many different markets to understand, really what are these pressure points for the business community coming out of COVID, and where things are at. We had some great feedback at the business roundtable, which we have those notes posted on that page as well, which we can share with you easily. And that just really an opportunity again for the city to hear and to listen. We receive well over $500,000 in business licenses from the business community, and we want to be sure that whether it be our processes internally or external market factors, we have a good understanding of what businesses are facing in our town. Anything else on BDC, if there's any questions? Great. City update. I mentioned most of the things I wanted to mention, other than you obviously, well, I did mention the deficit. You have all seen the deficit issue that is facing our general fund budget. If you read the latest Times, I'm happy to answer those questions. I'll throw a link in the chat so you all have it as well, of our 5-year plan where you can find that information. And that's just to simply help folks understand the fiscal trends that have affected our general fund. And they are concerning, but they are also a warning sign. They are not a light your hair on fire. Things are going downhill right now. So, but we do need to address the trends between revenues and spending. So that 5-year plan link is in the chat. Also, just Tuesday night, so 2 days ago, the city council did approve another proposition for the ballot in April. This is not a taxation issue. It's called Prop C, and it will allow residents of Webster to choose whether or not to create a charter review advisory board, a CRAB as we call it, Charter Review Advisory Board. Webster Groves is a charter city. The charter is like the Constitution. And so that sets the form of government that we operate under. We have had amendments to the charter, some very minor. I think the most recent one was whether or not the city attorney has to live in Webster Groves or not, right? I mean, things to that size, or a charter review advisory board could recommend to the council that you go to council members elected by district rather than at large. We could change the form of the government or change lots of things about the city through the charter. So it's an important issue, and for the residents will not be deciding what the changes are. They're deciding whether or not to create the review advisory board, the charter review advisory board. So that will be Prop C on the April ballot. And I know I saw Councilwoman Richardson on here, but I don't see her now. So I will, if she pops in, we'll make sure to get her an update. But Sergeant Flannery, anything you wanted to update on from police department?
No, nothing at this time.
Okay. All right. Our next meeting is February 17th, 8 a.m. Kelly, anything?
I got a call from Bob Hill, and he wanted to know about the trash can out in front of his building. And he says for months now, it hasn't been emptied, and he wanted to know who was in charge. And I told him I didn't know. I would ask you guys.
So so obviously the trash cans that are there are a business district trash can. So
Okay.
We can take that in, but ultimately Public Works. So what used to be Karen Beck, now Lita Murray, and I can provide that contact info and we can get Bob in contact with him. She deals directly with Waste Management and Republic on any of those issues to get things cleaned up.
If that can happen, that would be great, because he says not only people are complaining and he's having to go out there and empty it himself and take it to the trash. So
we've had that issue in the last couple of months from Waste Management. So which building is Bob's, just so I've got it? Do you have
the clinical collections building, the okay.
Yep. We will have them get on that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
No problem.
And Officer Flannery, the parking situation in the back of the building has improved 100%. Thank you very much. And
Great.
for all the efforts.
Oh, good. Glad to hear that.
Yep.
Our little Officer Rasul know.
Yes, he is so nice, and he worked so hard, and it's very much appreciated.
No problem. Yeah, he does a great job. Thank you. I'll pass that on to him.
Excellent.
Any other comments from members? Closing issues? All right, we'll remind everyone again, next month we'll have a chairs election, unless you all decide to push it off again, but we'll be ready for that, and we'll ask our other members if they can be with us. And again, if you know of anyone to fill Bob's seat that would be interested from your area, they can connect with me or Fran, or just go direct to the city's website and fill out the application. So
I think we're also going to need to fill Christie's seat. Her last email to me said that she was not going to reapply.
I'm working on her on this.
Thank you. I worked on her a little, but I was not successful.
Yep, I'll just keep bugging her till, we'll see
She
what we
did
can come up with.
suggest Alan Nearing, if you all want to work on Alan Nearing.
I'm working on him as well.
All right, good job,
Yep.
Heidi.
So
are you working on him while he's sitting there? Yeah, I can't reply, interact back.
pretty much.
Yeah,
So
it's a good space for it. So,
Captive audience.
yep.
all right. Anything else? Anyone? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Also motion.
Heidi, is there a second? from Chris, we'll take that one. And all in favor of adjourning, say aye.
I.
Definitely a majority. The ayes have it. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you, Eric.
Bye.
Bye.